Okay, we are recording. If you don't want to be recorded, you should probably leave now. Otherwise, take it away, Dan.
Thank you very much, Jan. This is the Murray Amateur Radio Club. We are doing our presentation on the December 3rd, first Thursday of the month. And today we're going to talk about things that you can do with your ham radio. In particular, 50 things you can do with your ham radio. We all know that the year 2020 has been abysmal. And there's a lining in that silver cloud there. Um, 2021 can be an epic amateur radio year. So that's what I'd like to talk about today. And at any time, please speak up with any questions or comments because this is not a presenter only presentation. I want it to be a something that everybody can join in with. So without further ado, let's talk about the 50 things you can do with your ham radio. The first one being joining a contest. As you might know, contests are happening all the time. Contests are a great way to expand your horizons. There's lots of people on lots of contests. I can't tell you how many. I mean, it's almost all the time when I'm, especially on HF, when I'm listening on the air bands there, and there's always somebody calling CQ for some type of contest. So, great way to meet new people and virtually visit other locations. They have contests for VHF and obviously as well as HF. And that they have contests on all the bands and on all modes. So try joining a contest. One thing you want to do, though, is when you make the contact, write it down, submit your logs, and you just might be a winner. How about checking into another net? As we all know, nets are like conference calls for ham radio operators. Everybody here has been a net control operator, something we do all the time. Try joining a net on the digital side if you haven't done that before. There's tons of topics. Nets that there's a net for just about everything you can think of. So don't be afraid to explore other people. A great way to make friends as well. I personally talk on a number of nets consistently, and I have a lot of fun doing that. Another thing you can do is send an email. Yes. You can use your computer to send email, and you do it all the time, and as well as your phone. But how about email via ham radio? We've talked about this a little bit before. WinLink is a great way to start, or you can also do APRS. How about get a vanity call sign for the year 2021? Spice things up a little bit. If you like your call sign, that's hanky dory. But a lot of the technician call signs are a 2x3, as in KD7 DJL. But I wanted a shorter one, and so that's why I got N7XDL, and obviously I put my initials in there. It's like I said, that's a popular thing to do, your initials or your name, your places. I almost got K7 KSL, which I thought would have been a great call sign. It denotes where I'm from, but I liked my XDL better. A lot of people use acronyms, and vanity call signs are personalized plates for ham radio. So why not try a new digital mode? Let's see, we have DMR, Fusion, and D-Star. If you haven't tried digital before, why not do it? There's also digital modes within like the HF band as well as VHF. We have FT8, we have PSK31, FT4, and the list goes on and on and on. Jan gave a presentation on digital modes before, and I'm just listing just a very few digital mode types. How about upgrading your license? This is, the best way to become a general without having to spend a career in the armed forces is to get your general license. That would be a great goal for many of us. And you existing generals out there, try up the ante and go for your extra. I'm not quite sure if I'm ready to do that, but that is on my short list of what I want to do for 2021. Number 7, build a radio or antenna. There's lots of kits available. You don't have to be a professional solderer. And by the way, as you build your kits and make mistakes, you quickly become proficient at soldering. There's a lot of skill levels. The kits have, they're built for everybody from the very easy to the advanced. We all fit in there somewhere. How about activate a park? Rick, AI3W, used to do this all the time, and I've been out with him a few times activating parks. It's called POTA, Parks on the Air. It's a year-round activity, and it gets you out of the house, especially now during COVID. We get to operate in the out of doors. Check the website, https://parksontheair.com, and it will give you a huge listing, a database of the parks that can be activated. Again, this is HF or VHF UHF. You make contacts. If you make contacts, or you will make contacts, I should say, you log it and you make points. A lot of people go and do just activating a park and try to get particular certificates for X amount of parks that they've been able to do. There's a lot of different awards for that. How about go to a ham fest? And I guess nowadays it's virtual. I don't know for those of you who went to the Ogden Ham Fest, you saw that there was equipment that you could buy or sell there. We got to interact with fellow hams. Hopefully we all learned a thing or two. And don't be afraid about becoming a presenter. Volunteer yourself and expand your comfort zone a little bit and become a presenter. How about, this is one of my favorites, buy a new radio. Why do we want to buy a new radio? Well,
it's your favorite, Dan, but it's not your wife's favorite, right?
Well, let's see. This is being recorded, so I shall refrain from saying anything that will incriminate myself. Yes, buy a new radio. And at the same time, buy her a pair of new shoes. Another reason to buy a new radio is for the new features and new modes that your other radios may not have. There's just a lot of different options out there, and it's really fun to have that new radio to play with. How about learning CW? Yeah, right. I think that would be a great lofty goal for a lot of us. And I will tell you, using CW is the best way to make contacts worldwide. And the reason is CW is very, very good at using very, very little power and bouncing that signal all over the earth. It is amazing what you can do with 300 milliwatts and how far you can get. Much more, you get a huge distance factor than what you can with voice. So, and it's, I heard that, I understand that learning CW is like learning a language. So if you're kind of into languages, you can learn CW the same way. There's a CW University. There's a lot of organizations that will help you do that if that's what you so desire. I would like to ultimately learn CW. That's on my bucket list. Maybe not for 2021, but it is on my bucket list. How about convince someone to get their license? We all know that this hobby is only as good as the people in it, and we like to get new blood. We like to get new people involved. So if you have friends with similar interests, they might also want to get their license, but they may not know where to begin. You can bridge that gap. Number 13, send a SMS text message. Your phone isn't the only thing that can send a message. APRS is you can use APRS to send texts. As a matter of fact, in the emergency communication world, that's one of the things that we do. We use APRS to send texts. How about a de-expedition contact? What trivia question? Anybody fill in the blank here? What is DX?
Distant contact.
A distant contact. In other words, it is a contact that is not within the continental U.S. And so a lot of times in contests, you will hear somebody calling CQ for DX, calling CQ, CQ, DX, CQ, DX. And what they're saying is, I don't want to talk to anybody in the States. I want to talk to somebody outside of the States. They're trying to make as many de-expedition contacts as possible. So one thing that happens a lot is there's a lot of people that spend thousands of dollars going on these trips on these remote locations. We don't have to spend those thousands of dollars. We get to be the ones to, if our propagation is just right, we can pick these de-expeditioners out, and you'll notice that there's always a huge pileup because everybody wants to talk to somebody in some small remote South Pacific island. And, you know, it's nice to have a notch in your belt that you can say that you spoke with somebody in one of the South Pacific islands. They are always well announced, so something might think about doing in 2021.
I have a comment.
Sure.
I met a friend of a relative in Durango, Colorado, and they were in the Coast Guard, and their duty was from Hawaii to the Antarctic. And I talked him into amateur radio, and his captain was into amateur radio. And for a few years there, I enjoyed keeping track of the different vessels and the contacts, you know, and keeping track where they were. And then, of course, they helped me connect with a lot of the people in the Antarctic, and I made a lot of contacts that way. And it was just fun following somebody doing that, you know, but I like watching people fly across the country too. So, you know, I have my weird things, but I totally enjoyed that, you know, just keeping track of the people. And they've had a lot of expeditions that have gone like over the Arctic ice up north, for example, and you can watch them, and you can track them and make a few contacts to them. That's kind of that's really fun to do, you know.
That
anyway.
is awesome. That is awesome. Thanks, Ragnar. Okay, number 15. How about moon bounce? People do it all the time. What's the best way on VHF to talk to somebody on the other side of the earth? Well, you usually can only do that with HF, right? Because you use the ionosphere to bounce that signal all across there. But people use, now granted, their antennas are large beams and there's some power behind them, but they can bounce a signal to the moon so it hits the other side of the Earth, or definitely on way past your radio horizon, and uh, yeah, talk to people on the other side. Well, actually, probably someone with moon bounce will have to do the same thing, right? Let's see.
Hey, Dan.
Yes.
So, like, if you were doing something like that, what wattage would you have to use?
You know, I talked to someone who actually does a moon bounce, and I actually went to their antenna. Their antenna is it's like a 15-meter antenna. It looks like a radio antenna. When I say 15-meter, that is like 45 feet diameter. Okay, and it doesn't. It looks just. You've seen a radio antenna, right? Like SETI uses and that kind of stuff, where it's nothing but a series of metallic forms and whatnot. Well, this is the same way. He had it up pretty high, on a base, probably a 2-story foundation, and he was pushing, I think, 1,000 watts on it. But they were VHF frequencies, and yeah, so you're sending it 230,000 miles there, and then the bounce, so that's 460 to 500,000 miles. That is quite the distance. And so what happens when light travels 500,000 miles?
I would think that you'd have some signal loss, maybe. I don't know.
Yes,
So
not
it's spread
necessarily.
out, right?
It spreads out. That's where the loss is. That's why the huge antennas. But you get these weird, interesting audio artifacts. In particular, you get echoes. You get some very interesting stuff. So light traveling, RF traveling 500,000 miles, it does some fun stuff to it. So if you have a chance to work with someone that does moon bounce, that is an awesome experience to be able to do. So something you may put on your bucket list for 2021. Okay, number 16, field day. We have 2 field days. I'm sure everybody knows about the summer field day, but there's also a winter field day. Again, you get to go out and spend the night or 2 or 3 out in some fun areas. You get to set up your station if you want. You make your own contacts, you log it, and you get to visit other clubs as well. A lot of fun doing field day. Number 17, build a go kit. Obviously, we all know what a go kit is. Most of us have built one. It's a self-contained ham radio setup. Emergency preparedness at its finest. If anybody who's into MCOMs knows what a go kit is all about. And obviously, there's lots of uses. I not only use my Salt Lake County Aries go kits for Salt Lake County Aries work, but every when we do the 220 check-in net on the second and third Thursday at 6 p.m., I bring out my go kit, set it on my bed, hook my discone antenna to it, and there I'm in my bedroom on the 220 radio that is in the go kit. So I use it camping. There are just lots of uses for go kits. It's just not just for MCOMs. It can be used for every day if you want. Another idea is to become a volunteer. We've talked about this a number of times. There's many opportunities that you have, including road races, marathons. you know, we always like more volunteers, and the more we have, the better it is. And you know, let's be a service to our community. If you haven't done so, my suggestion, you go to Utah SAG and be familiar with that website. There's not a whole lot of stuff going on nowadays because of the COVID-19. 2020 was a bust, and that's too bad, because I absolutely love being a volunteer for these events. And I think the best reason to do it is, well, not only because to be a service to the community, but it's a great way to practice and be proficient in thinking on your feet and doing things that are not scripted. You learn really quick that you know, you're not reading from a net control script. You know, when a bicyclist falls down, there's, you know, and they're unconscious, it becomes an adrenaline thing. And yeah, it is, we have lots of fun doing that. Okay, let's go to the next one. Number 19 is make a satellite contact. There's, I don't know if you knew this, but there's satellites that have repeaters on them. Obviously, when you hit the repeater, you have to know what the frequency is, though. The repeater on the satellite then sends a signal back, and the area that the satellite signal is like a 800-mile diameter signal footprint that comes back to the ground. So using your VHF radio, you can hit somebody hundreds of miles away, which I think is pretty interesting. And we do this during, I do it during the field day contests. Someone always has a satellite antenna that they bring, and it's fun to talk to other people, you know, like Phoenix, for example, and I'm in Salt Lake, and I'm talking VHF. I'm not doing HF stuff. So pretty cool stuff. Number 20, chase that paper. What the heck does that mean? Well, there's a lot of ham radio operators that like to cover their walls with various awards that they get. Another thing that people do is they collect QSL cards, and they put those QSL cards on the wall. That might be something you want to start. There's lots of awards that you can use. There's an award called Worked All States and Worked All Bands, and there's dozens of different awards that you can do. So chase that paper. You can subscribe to YouTube channels, including Salt Lake County Aries channel. That's interesting. Not sure what happened there, but all I can say is if you haven't subscribed to the Salt Lake County Aries YouTube channel, make that a goal this year. How about activating a mountain? Anybody know of any mountains nearby? We have a bunch of them here in Utah. It's called Summits on the Air, or SOTA. You can go to the website, and it discusses the SOTA organization and how you can become involved with that. It's I've been involved with it. It's actually quite fun to not only be on the mountaintop activating the mountain, but being the contact down in the valley. Going to the website, you'll be able to see when people are up on the mountain near you, and you'll be able to make those contacts. So, and by the way, you get points, and you can get awards, and you can put that on your walls if you want. Again, wallpaper that wall. How about number 23, update your QRZ page. Many times when you talk to somebody, they go and look your call sign up on the QRZ website at qrz.com. I do that a lot, especially when I'm working HF. I like to know who I'm talking to, and sometimes the experiences that they have and that kind of stuff. If you haven't registered with QRZ, do it. It's free, and you're already on the database there, so you might as well take the page that belongs to you and fill it out. Also, keep your page up to date, add pictures, and tell people what you do with the hobby. And here's my QRZ page. Go to QRZ and go into the search, enter query there by call sign, and this is what you see. If you're a non-registered user, you're not going to be able to see a lot of the information. You have to register to get all the fine detail of that person. But as you can see, it has my name and address, and if you scroll down, it talks about things that I've entered there on QRZ. So I suggest everybody to register if you haven't done so, and make that a goal for 2021. Number 24, answer a social media question. I think this is really cool. Facebook, in particular, is the place that I go to when I deal with ham radio social media sites, and there are all kinds of clubs, quote unquote, there. There's a Go Kit club, there's a Aries club, there's anything you can think of. There's probably a Facebook page for them. The reason why I go there is they contain tons of resources and ideas. If you're curious about something, look it up on Facebook, and there's probably a Facebook page for that. And that's really the only time I get on Facebook. I rarely get onto my own Facebook page anymore. I just stick with the ham radio stuff. And there's always people asking questions. So if you know the answer to a question, help a fellow hammer out and answer their question. How about go to a club meeting? Just like what we're doing now. But I'm talking about, in particular, other clubs. If you're not familiar with with other clubs in the Valley or Utah County, my suggestion is you visit them online. And I'm a member of multiple clubs, so you don't have to be just a member of the Murray Amateur Radio Club. How about be someone's first contact? Every once in a great while, and this only happens to me every once in a great while, you hear somebody on the radio that is making their first CQ, their first contact. And if you remember, as a matter of fact, the next slide is, do you remember when you were making your first contact? You can hear it in their voice that this is their first time that they're doing this. And, it is a privilege to be their first contact. So be on the lookout for that. How about being involved with a special event station? There are tons of special event stations that happen all around the country. In particular, warships, the aircraft carriers in San Diego and whatnot. I talked to those guys. I've talked to those guys more than once. Monuments that they do, scouting events in particular. One example is the 13 colonies, where you try to make a contact in each of the original 13 colonies. That again is a special event station, and they are well organized and well announced. One particular source that I go to is the QST magazine, and it has the special event stations listed for the next number of months. So try to go ahead and visit a special event station. How about number 28, using an unconventional antenna? Now, yes, it's easier to do this with HF, but there's no reason why you can't do it with any other frequency band. Try to use an antenna that wasn't specifically made for an antenna. I haven't done this yet, but I want to go and find a barbed wire fence, hook my Zygu HF radio to it and see if I can make a contact. I'll probably have to use a tuner, but hey, that's okay. Why not try it? One of the things that first got me real intrigued with ham radio is the number of different antenna types that that ham radio operators use. And in particular, you can use a light bulb as an antenna. Talk about an unconventional antenna.
I got a comment.
Sure.
On I've had lousy success with fences and like that, but bike racks work really well. So
Yeah.
and they work really well. Any rack like that seems to work quite well. I think it's because they're less ground. I have no idea why, but it seems to work quite well.
Huh. You know, every once in a while I hear people say that they use this and that for their antenna. You know, what's the first thing you learn in, you know, becoming a technician? And that is, this is an experimental hobby. And the FCC wants us to experiment. And I think that's half the drive, half the pizzazz of having fun in this hobby is the fact that we get to experiment. And so, yeah, use that bicycle rack as your antenna. If it works, hey, you know, it works. How about update
coffee can?
Coffee can? You betcha. All
I
kinds.
watched a guy on YouTube build a coffee can antenna.
Uh-huh. How about updating your shack, number 29? How about a new chair, a new monitor, new shelving? How about a new tower? Well, let's see. Guess what I did? I did this myself, by the way. I slowly but surely raised my tower. You should be able to see my cursor. I have a winch right here that's tied to the side of the tower. And down when it was low, that angle was very, very, very steep. There wasn't much of an angle, which means that I was, you know, putting 1,000 pounds on this winch. And so I was having problems bringing it up. But once I got it past a certain point, it was a lot easier to winch up. So this is my Empire State Building now, and I've even done the grounding. So all my legs are grounded, and so I'm excited. The next thing is to put the antenna up on there. So that was the end of a 2020 project. I wanted to go out at least having some type of success with 2020. What can you do to update your shack? Maybe you don't have a shack. Maybe you want to put a little piece of your office as a mini shack. Lots of things you can do there. Okay, number 30. How about get a slow scan TV image from the ISS? Every couple of months, the ISS crew has an event, and I'm not only talking. The ISS crew involves, as we all know, it's an international crew. So it could be U.S., it could be from Russia. Anyway, they always have events every couple of months, and they send the SSTV signals down to Earth, which, by the way, you could receive via your ham radio or tablet or computer. My suggestion is to go to YouTube to find out how to do this. I have not done this yet. That's something I am going to do this year, however, in 2021. How about, you know, we've worked with unconditional or unconventional antennas. Why not work an unconventional station? How about making a bicycle contact? Oh, by the way, what's a great way to make a bicycle contact?
Go help out at a bicycle race.
Hey, go help out at a bicycle race. Yes, you'll be talking to bicycles all the time. Has anybody talked to anybody on a parachute, that's floating down from a skydiving expedition? How about aircraft? I know Ragnar has on the aircraft piece, and that includes airplanes and helicopters.
Amen on both.
Yeah, I have yet to do it. I want to be able to do that. I'd love to talk to an 18-wheeler. I know that there are some 18-wheelers that are ham radio operators. I'd like to talk with the trucker. I think that would be a cool thing to do. Number 32, fly a remote control plane or drone. Why is this on the list? Well, there's a lot of RC aircraft that uses the ham radio bands as the frequencies that they use to control their aircraft. Well, they have to get a license to do that. And so guess what? You already have the license. Visit an RC plane club and maybe they'll let you fly one. I think that would be a cool thing to do.
Actually, I used to, Stormy worked for me. He was a very good pilot.
Uh-huh.
And for RC, and we used to go out to it's just off 215, about 20th North, something there, the big RC lot. Anyway, when you go there to fly, they have this big area, and you put your name and your frequency up on a little pin, and so it's like first come first serve, and you can only take off and land so many at a time. But the ham radio people, they always had like priority there, because and also there was absolutely no interference from some of the other aircraft. So a lot of the aircraft people really wanted to get their license, and I probably talked about 6 of them into getting it 20 years ago or so, just because of that reason. They had they had more exclusive rights to that frequencies, because some of the old ones all used to be like CB frequencies they would use, and then they moved up to the 160 meg, but the ham radio was right on the 54 area, right in the 6 meter area. That's where all of them were. So it worked out pretty good for them.
Very cool. Very cool. Okay, let's go to number 33. How about try to make a meteor scatter contact? When meteors come down into the earth, they create a wake of sorts, and people use that to bounce the RF energy, and you're able to contact people way past the radio horizon. Something I haven't done yet. I think that would be cool to do. How about working QRP? As we all know, QRP is low power. HF is a great way just to see how little it takes to make a contact. Run a wire up the tree and try using a watt or less and see how far you get. Tell you what, especially with CW, you do QRP all the time. So if you haven't done it before, I think it's a great thing to do. And this is one that I've only heard of just a couple times. I don't know anybody who's done it, but why not? This seems like it would be a fun thing to do. Flora and fauna. Another reason to get out of the house, you can go to the Worldwide Flora and Fauna. Their website is wwf.co, and you can make contacts from wildlife preserves and any one of 24,000 protected flora and fauna areas. I think that would be a very fun thing to do. How about making a microwave contact? As we all know, heating up pizza is one use of the microwave. Well, we can use the microwave frequencies to send voice and data as well. And besides that, everybody here already has a license to do so. So that might be something you want to try. How about number 37, kill that noise? I don't know if you're plagued with noise from TVs or monitors, but sometimes they give off some weird RF energy. Why not find the source of your noise and kill it? And ferrite beads are your friend in that case. Something we've done before here, hunt a fox. Obviously, instead of horses, we use directional antennas to hunt that fox. We're having another fox hunt in a couple of weeks, so more information to come up on that. How about restore a boat anchor? And no, Sherwood, you don't have to be in the Navy to restore a boat anchor. You can get that 300-pound old ham radio working once again. That would be a great project to spend time on, restoring that boat anchor. Just if you recall in your technician's manual, when you're studying for the technician license, there was a section in there that talked about boat anchors. And again, it was in reference to the old time radios. They typically have tubes in there, but they are freaking heavy. And so they are referred to as boat anchors. So that's where that comes from. How about review a product? There's lots of opportunities that you have to review a radio or accessory that you own. Why not go online and let others know what you like or dislike about that product? I read reviews all the time. A lot of my decisions are based on the reviews that I read. So help others out and review a product that you own. How about update your website? If you have a website, update it. Jan keeps our website updated. Thank you very much, Jan. I guess this particular one was for other webmasters who sometimes leave their websites untouched for a while. That happens a lot. How about number 42? Try digital voice. You know, you don't have to use the internet to use digital voice. You can do it on Simplex. And doing a DMR on Simplex, you are doing digital voice from radio to radio. I think that would be a great thing to try out. How about join ARES or RACES or both? The best way to participate in real emergency events is by joining ARES, the Amateur Radio Emergency Services. And if you're not an ARES or RACES member, please consider joining. Remember, FEMA is coming to town in June of next year. And if you are not a member of the ARES or RACES, you will not even be considered in helping out with the huge nationwide activity that's coming up in June. So very easy to join. It's also very free. So please do so. How about bounce a packet off the space station? Did you know that the ISS has a digirepeater on it? Well, you can go ahead and send APRS packets up to the ISS. And again, the ISS will retransmit these packets. And just like the satellite repeaters, you get large sections of the Earth with the retransmitted packet. So you can make contacts from to a lot of different people in all parts of the world. And again, this is using VHF frequencies. Speaking of ISS, you can try making a SSTV contact. Try sending a picture or video as via the slow scan TV. if you make a contact using that, it actually counts as a contact, and there are awards for that. 20 and 40 meters on the HF are very, very popular, but UHF is also used in the slow scan TV. How about number 46? We're almost done. Write an app. Like all things in our fast-paced age, there's an app for everything. So if you're into coding, consider creating a new app for ham radios, or take an existing app and improve it. And best of all, you can make some money doing this. Number 47, help out a Boy Scout. As we all probably know, Boy Scouts have this the radio merit badge, and they need mentors for that, and they need people that know the hobby, just like you guys do, and you can help the Boy Scouts out. So remember,
Can you help them crossing the street? Help
I'm
the
sorry?
boys. You help the Boy Scouts cross the street. Is that what you're saying?
I think the Boy Scouts help old men like you cross the street.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. The number 48, go solar. And for that matter, it's really find an alternative power source for your station. If you don't have something, if you just rely on the grid, try finding something this year to so you don't have to rely on the grid. And that includes water, wind, and solar. What kind of human power can create power? Any ideas?
Hamster wheel.
Hamster wheel. Pedal. Absolutely. Put a alternator on your bicycle. I want to do that and create, charge up my own batteries doing that way. So not a bad thing to do. Huh. And here's something that's funny. Ask if you should ground on eHam. So if you really want to be entertained, ask the question on eham.net. Ask this question here. Should you ground your station? And you'll immediately find 1,000 different ideas, most of them wrong, on why you should or should not ground. It is hilarious. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, you need to do it. It's quite funny. Maybe that's not the most appropriate use of eHam website. It's a forum, but it sure is entertaining. And drum roll for number 50. Add to this list. So what was just presented here is just the tip of the iceberg. Try suggesting new ways to keep busy this next year. The sky's the limit. Any questions, anybody? Comments?
So you left out slip out the back jack
Slip out the back.
and make a new plan stand. I didn't hear either of those. So
My bad. That was number 51.
okay. Yeah, that was a great list, Dan. A lot of fun options in there. I've been kicking around doing a class on satellite operations. I've been trying to find somebody in the area here who has done it that I can pick their brain, but I haven't been able to track anyone down. So if anyone knows someone who has done satellite operations, give them my email address and see if they can reach out to me or give me their email address.
Have you contacted Noji?
I have not talked to Noji directly. I mentioned it on the ham radio Slack, and I got a couple of people who said, "Oh, somebody did it, but I don't remember who they were," that kind of thing. So
let me send you the email address of the guy that I worked with at Utah Valley Amateur Radio Club. And he has a huge satellite setup. So he would be a great resource. I'll send that information
send that
to you.
To me, because I've been wanting to. It's something that I want to try and get into, but I don't know enough about it. And I've looked online, and a lot of the resources online are either really, really old, or they're wrong, or
Yeah.
they just don't work. So, a lot of them are like, well, you could talk to this satellite, and then you go look it up, and that satellite hasn't been active in 10 years, so that kind of thing.
Yep.
So I
Yep.
definitely want to do that.
I'm actually in that group because I used to do 2 meters, and then receive was 10 meters, and that was a lot of fun. But it's entirely changed, So now it's all VHF and UHF. So.
Right, yeah. So I wanted to find somebody who's doing it or has done it that I can talk to about it, and preferably somebody who's doing it actively right now, and be able to put together a presentation on that, because it's something that I've wanted to try for a long time. And I have a radio that can do it. It's the radio's able to transmit and receive at the same time, and so it's something that I could do. I probably need a better antenna than what I have, but that's all things that I want to pick someone's brain about.
Well, I do know, helping him set up his antenna. Obviously, we know that you transmit on VHF and receive on UHF, or vice versa. But the antenna is, it's actually a pretty, there's like a 12 element or 17 element Yagi that they use for that.
Yeah.
They really want to narrow that beam out. And, because you're using, I don't know if he was using 100 watts. You certainly don't need to use 100 watts to do that. But yeah, it was also, not only was it a single Yagi, they used 2 Yagis that were,
one for transmit, one for receive. Yeah.
No. 2 Yagis, actually 4 Yagis. They were, a single Yagi had the VHF elements on horizontally polarized, and the UHF vertically polarized. And they had another one that just like that, and they phased those together. They were co-phased antennas, and so it really augmented the properties of what you use a Yagi antenna for. And so, yeah, I'll get his information to you. I can't remember for the life.
You can actually use a handheld circularly polarized antenna, and if you know if you're familiar with the satellites and their courses, you can pretty much track on to it. It's really not that difficult to follow it, but you'd be surprised how fast it crosses the sky.
Yeah, every time a satellite came through, you only had 10 minutes from when it came up from the horizon. And this is if it's overhead. If you're lucky, it's overhead. Generally, they're 15 degrees off the horizon or 25 degrees off the horizon, and so that makes it a lot more difficult. You have to go through, the distance increases dramatically. So anyway, yeah, very, very interesting aspect of the hobby, the satellite comms. So, any other comments or questions?
Well, I have one comment. You talked about meteor scatter. We've got a big meteor shower starting, I think, tomorrow through the 16th, and it's going to peak around the 13th, and it's quite a large one. And if you can go to a dark place, you can probably get 100 an hour, like up out in the desert or something. So, but yeah, and it's this year's pretty good because a new moon is, I think, the 14th, the day after the peak. So you could try listening to garbled VHF
Yeah.
It'd be cool.
Yep. And Ragnar, what else is happening here with Saturn and Jupiter coming up?
We have a conjunction
Conjunction.
going on. And if you want to look at, well, it should be almost setting now out to the southwest, but Jupiter's been in retrograde, which means it's going back on the the regular stars. It
From
looks
our
like
point of view.
yeah, it looks like it's going back toward the east, and so it's about half the distance it was from Saturn just a couple of months ago. So Jupiter's going toward Saturn, toward the east, and it's probably the closest it's been since 460 years ago. And if you want to use a measurement to see how close they're going to be, if you look at a crescent moon, the lit part of the crescent moon is about how close those two will be. And so with my eyes, they would look like one object. So, but it's kind of cool. And you, and actually, if you have a good high-powered binoculars and can hold that up against Jupiter, you can actually see the moons of it. You don't need that much to see the 4 moons. So it's quite a sight to see the moons of Jupiter anyway, if you've never seen it. So most people don't realize they can actually see the 4 moons, but and you don't need much of a telescope if you can steal one from somebody to see the rings, and that's quite a sight, seeing the rings and Jupiter and the moons all together. So and I think it's I don't know, I can't remember, 0.2 of a degree, really close. Anyway, if you don't see it this month, you've got about a 400-year wait to see it next time that close again. So it's and you can try the meteor scatter if you want.
Yeah, I think that would be cool. I think that'd be cool. Okay, Vern put something in chat. He says, do you want me to read it, or do you want to take over, Vern?
You can just, you were talking about learning CW, and I just saw this the other day. There's
okay, you can use the, okay, there's a fairly new web page that will allow you to use CW via the internet. They also have an adapter that will plug in your key on the USB port on your PC. Oh, so you can get a key, a CW key. Do you know if it's just for a straight key or the ionic?
just something with a 3.5 millimeter plug.
Okay.
Jack, and it'll. They've got a little adapter they sell for $25, or they have a board that you can buy for $10 and solder it up yourself. And,
okay, cool.
It plugs straight into your whatever computer you have. You use it with a mini USB on one end and a standard full-size USB on the other. And they have this service there that they're providing, and there's 3 or 4 channels. You can have it decode you or not. And they put up a little YouTube introducing the thing.
So there used to be a, this is probably going to date me a little bit too. There used to be an IRC channel for CW Morse code communications, and there was a plugin for one of the IRC clients that would let you basically use your space bar or your mouse button as a key and send and receive Morse code that way.
Yeah, they were saying that, you know, that's one way to do it, but it's a little tricky to use the space bar, or if you want to use a paddle, doing your control keys is not really the same as using a paddle.
Right, and if you have an actual physical paddle there or key that you can use that helps you learn the correct muscle memory to be able to do it when you're hooking it up to a real radio too. So
Anyway, you saw that the other day. That just thought I'd pass that on.
Thank you, Vern. Appreciate it. I'm going to do it. I swear I am. I just gotta do it. So, okay. Well, guys, thank you so very much. There's someone else want to say something?
There's a fellow down in, I think he's in Texas, that makes a fairly cheap key. You can get a paddle or a straight key, and he does what do you call it? He prints it off. It's a little plastic box and
3D printing.
3D printing, and has a little business where he does that for $25-30.
Cool. Okay. So without belaying the issue, thanks everybody for joining tonight, and we'll see everybody next time. You want to